following is part of a training program produced by Young Broadcasters of America.
Hello everyone, welcome back to YBA Today. I'm Katie McKenna here with Charlie Appelstein still, and we're going to discuss one of the hottest issues in today's news, bullying. Although he's not a bullying expert, he is a parent. And Charlie, what would you say if someone was bullying your child? How would you feel towards that bully?
Well, of course, as a parent, I would be upset and I'd be angry at the kid, but then I'd have to take a step back and more put my professional kind of cap on and say, okay, behavior's a message.
An unbiased opinion towards this kid.
Behavior's a message. If a kid is bullying, they're sending us something's wrong. Something's going on, and let's get at what's going on and let's correct this problem.
Because according to your book, you say there's no such thing as a bad kid.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
I love the title because I want people to understand there are no bad kids. There are kids who make bad choices.
Right.
And kids who make bad choices are often helped with a lot of love and support and guidance and limits to make a lot better choices. But you know, if a teacher says to another teacher in May, "You're getting a really bad kid next year. Kid drives me crazy," already that teacher is. And
that's kind of unfair. When
it is unfair. Already,
it
it influences that teacher's ability to welcome that kid. If she's on the other hand said, "You're getting a really courageous kid next year." He's had some horrible things happen to him in his life. And he lets out his anger now and then in class. But boy, does he have courage. Boy, does he try. Help him to have even a better year this year. Then you welcome him in. So it's more like, we got to get away from labeling kids good and bad. There's, you know, certainly there are kids who do bad things and maybe should be locked up forever. But you know, let's get away from the fact that they're bad kids.
Right, they just make bad decisions, and it's also not fair to them to the first day of school, if there's a red X next to their name saying, this is a bad kid, I'm labeled as a bad kid, how are they going to act for the rest of the year?
Right. If you think you're a bad kid, you act. Exactly, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I could give you hundreds of examples of people who have come up to me and said, I was told I was a bad kid, I was told I was a lazy kid, I was told I was a rude kid, a dumb kid, and it affected my whole life.
Yep.
You know, they say sticks and stones can break your bones, names will never hurt you. That's a crock. Throw a stick at me and break my arm. It'll heal in a few months. But if you're someone I care about and you start calling me a negative adjective, it may stick forever.
Right.
And so I don't even like the term bully. It should be called sad kids, confused kids. Now, kids in need of help, you know.
Now, on the other hand, the victims, society tends to focus on the victims of bullying rather than getting into the mind, like psychoanalyzing the bully.
Yes.
Now, what do you say when someone says, what's going through this bully's mind? They're this problem child's mind.
It's like the question you asked. What would I do? What would I say to that bully? Well, like I said, behavior is a message. I want to know what's going on there. And I think in my experiences with bullying and kids who act out, and torment others. With the bullying phenomenon, I think there's two big things going on. One, you have a whole subset of kids who are angry kids, who've been bullied themselves, who've had power misused against them at home and in other situations. There's a whole body of evidence out there that says kids who tease and torment and hurt others have probably had that happen to them.
Right.
And no one likes power being misused against them. People who misuse power against others usually had it against them. People who rape and hurt others usually had it happen to them. So you have a subset of kids who are just those angry kids because of the cards life has dealt them, what they've experienced. But the other aspect of this bullying, the other subset of kids, I think, and this I don't think gets enough attention, is the other kids, I think, are doing it more from developmental reasons. You know, there's something called separation individuation when you're an adolescent. It happens at 2 and it happens in your adolescence. You know, the 2-year-old starts walking, talking, the world opens up. It's exciting. They want to touch everything. And all of a sudden they start hearing no, no, you know, and there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of excitement at that point. And when they're separating and moving out, it's exciting, it's scary. And who do they take out their anxiety on? The parent. But that's a really cool phase. They're becoming a little person. Well, adolescence is really the second phase of separation individuation. Now you're separating from home. You're thinking about my future. Where am I going to go to college? Who am I? What do I look like? Who's my peer group? And so you're separating from home. You're thinking about moving past them. You're thinking about who am I? Where do I fit in? And it's a very exciting, as I'm sure you know, but it's also a lot of pressure, a lot of anxiety. You're looking at yourself, who am I? What am I going to do? Where do I fit in? And so what happens, I think, in typical adolescence, you could tell me if I'm wrong, you become hypersensitive to others.
Right.
If someone looks odd, or if they act
definitely.
weird, that bothers you.
Yep.
Because they actually call it projection. Because you're saying, that could be me. Or that reminds me that I could be looking different. Or I could be standing out. It's so critical in adolescence to be part of that group, to have that peer group. And so what I think the missing piece in this bullying arena is that we need to be teaching adolescents, empathizing about how hard it is to separate, to individuate, to go out there on your own, and the massive pressure you feel to fit in, and how easily susceptible you will be to putting down others who look a little different, who are gay, who are tall, who are thin, who are geeky, or this. Because what it does, it says, I could be like that.
Right.
I could be different. And boy, and so sometimes it just unleashes torrents of
Right, especially
abuse.
in high school, because I feel from experience it's kind of like who you associate yourself with. Some people place more value on that than others.
Yeah.
When really, if you look at someone and if they're the bigger person, to go talk to the less popular person, or the one who's a little weird or stereotypically a little like off and hangs out with a different group of friends, I feel like that bigger person is more respectable to go and talk to that someone rather than put them down because they're afraid to kind of be like them.
Yes.
So there's definitely something to say for someone to kind of reach out of their social circle and help the kids who are bullying or subjects of bullying.
It takes tremendous courage and a strong sense of self. Because to step outside of your comfortable circle, it threatens who you are, how you'll be perceived. And so you have to have a great sense of self, this sense of security. And sadly, I think some of the high school kids don't have that good sense of self.
Yep.
Maybe they haven't had enough attention at home. Maybe things haven't been so good. Maybe there's been divorce and things like that. And they don't have that strong foundation. And so for them to venture out, to show that kind of courage you just said, that may be a lot harder.
Yeah.
Because, you look at it, you look in the paper, some of these kids who've done some awful bullying, they don't have these terrible histories, some of them.
Right.
Some of them is, I think, this byproduct of the developmental thing where anybody different just raises a red flag and they got to go after them. And I think we could probably cut down on a lot of bullying as if we had like focus. Be curious your opinion. My take is if we had focus groups with adolescents and just went over again in really common sense, fun terms, what it's like to be an adolescent, the pressures you're dealing with, how it leads you to want to pick on others, and just normalize the behavior. Not demonize, normalize, but then say, but when you feel like doing it, you got to have that little coach inside of your head going, no, you feel like doing it, but don't go there.
Right.
You're okay. You're okay. Differences are okay. Just because someone else is different doesn't mean you're that different.
Yep.
Accept differences. Embrace differences.
Embrace them rather than put them down.
I'd be curious. Let me interview you.
Sure.
Because I've had this idea for a long time. How do you think the typical teenager would deal with that as if at the beginning of the year they had these focus groups? You had hip people come in and talk about adolescence and the pressures you're under and normalize all these things.
Well, we actually, in my school, we do have these mentoring groups, which kids from different cliques, they kind of just throw everyone together in this one group, and you're with those people for the 4 years of high school. So you kind of bond with people that you don't hang out with outside of school, or you're not on the same sports team, or drama together or anything. So you somehow find like this weird bond together, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I feel like it's the teacher, because the teachers are above all this high school, all this bullying, all this like social circle. So they kind of bond it all together, and I feel like you're right. Like if we did have more focus groups and people took it seriously, that would definitely make a difference in high school and make a difference in society as well.
Would the kids be open to hearing about what you're going through, the typical developmental things, why it's so easy to go down that road instead of that road? Because I just think education is always the great equalizer. And I think, when kids are acting out, you want to say, where's it coming from? And I think a lot of them are just reacting to what they're feeling without having someone say, it's okay to feel that way.
Right.
You're separating. You're wondering, what am I going to be in life? Where do I fit in? Also, home stuff can exacerbate that, because if you think about it, if you're separating from your family to try and figure out who I am, and you haven't had great relationships with some of your family members, like your mom and your dad, think how hard it is to say goodbye to them if it hasn't gone good enough. So that can create some psychological pain that can then be displaced onto someone else. Some of this bullying from some of the more higher functioning teenagers could be the fact they're displacing anger on the fact that they never got along with their father that well. Not terrible, not onto that kid over there.
Right. So there are definitely many reasons for bullying, and
Absolutely.
we're going to talk more about this when we come back from the break. I'm here with Charlie Appelstein, and we'll be right back.